What are you doing? She says she's not sick and you're putting handcuffs on her.
There's no hospital that uses handcuffs. Help! I'm normal. No hospital uses handcuffs. I'm completely clear-headed. My name is Li Jianqing. Please help me.
On May 16th in Yuzhou, Henan, a woman was forcibly taken away on the street by 4 people dressed in medical uniforms, her hands cuffed behind her back. According to China's mental health law and related medical regulations, handcuffs, shackles, and other police restraints are not medical equipment and cannot be used by hospitals alone. The men in black in the video were likely plainclothes police. In China, locking up activists in mental hospitals is one of the CCP's go-to tactics.
I, Wang Yuanzhu, exposed the Guangzhou University cafeteria for selling expired food, and they threatened to blackball me from the group meal industry. I was sick and couldn't take care of myself at the time. The police tricked my family, saying hospitalization was for a free checkup. My family asked, "Don't you need a diagnosis first?" The police said, "Only if you're admitted can the cost be covered." They said I'd be checked after admission, so my family signed and let the police take me. But when I got to the hospital, there was no checkup. They just threw me into the psychiatric ward. I refused to change into their clothes, and they beat me. I cried out. A doctor said, "Keep crying and we'll inject you with sedatives." Fearing worse harm to my body, I refused to change. They stabbed my toenails with sharp tools. It was excruciating, unbearable pain. I endured about half an hour of abuse in there. They stripped me naked, tied me to a bed. I told them, "If you don't kill me in this mental hospital, I'll sue you to death when I get out." My family never agreed to sign for my admission and kept demanding to see me, which is the only reason they let me go. The moment I got out, I grabbed my phone and called the police.
Nail piercing is one of the CCP's torture methods. Needles, toothpicks, or other sharp objects are driven into the nail beds, which are packed with nerves and capillaries, causing unbearable pain. Huang Cheng, a Falun Gong practitioner from Jinzhou, Liaoning, was tortured in Panjin prison by the prison guard captain Guan Fengchen, who ordered inmates like Meng Xianglin to handcuff him to a wall. They drove large medical needles into the tips of all 10 of his fingers, piercing between the nail and flesh, with blood dripping from the other end. Some needles went through the nail bed and out the other side of the finger joint, blood flowing from the needle tips. Even when Huang Cheng died, scars remained under his nails. Huang Cheng, simply for practicing Falun Gong and living by truthfulness, compassion, tolerance, was sentenced to 6 years in prison in August 2008. He was tortured by Panjin Prison and the Taipei Public Security Bureau in Jinzhou, suffering a stroke, partial paralysis, and severe swelling, dying in extreme pain on February 24, 2011, at age 55. Nail piercing was just one of the CCP's torture methods. Details of Huang Cheng's persecution can be accessed via the provided link. A woman passing by a mental hospital in Chongqing saw dozens of women clinging to the barbed wire, begging passers-by to call 110, China's emergency number. One woman shouted,
"We were all sent here by 110. So many people in here were brought by the police."
Like Wang Yuanzhu, the first instinct of these persecuted people was to call the police. Netizens commented, "They were sent in by 110, and now they're asking others to call 110. That makes no sense. What? Switch to another mental hospital? These people might not be mentally ill, but they lack basic logical thinking. Calling the police when facing danger or injustice is a normal reaction in a normal society, but they don't realize that the CCP-controlled public security, procuratorate, courts, and judicial system form a top-to-bottom, thoroughly corrupt machine. The CCP, which gives them power and weapons, is the root of this evil. Whenever the regime faces a crisis, policy failures, or public outrage, the CCP picks scapegoats, specific groups, individuals, or hostile forces to vilify and purge. They say, "It's just a few bad apples, the party is good," diverting attention to these scapegoats to dodge responsibility, shift blame, and reframe their rule as legitimate. Until the root is removed, the evil and suffering will never end. Historically, the CCP's first mental hospital victim was Mao Zedong's ex-wife, He Zijian. After catching Mao cheating with Wu Lili, she was sent to a Soviet mental hospital by the Politburo the next day to treat her illness. The CCP's core strategy for dealing with troublemakers is to eliminate those who expose them, and sending dissenters to mental hospitals is one of their time-tested recipes. In the BBC documentary Diagnosing Troublemakers, reporter John Sweeney interviewed Zhang Junji, a Central University of Finance and Economics student who was locked up in Nantong City's No. 4 People's Hospital Psychiatric Ward 3 times for participating in the White Paper movement, a series of protests in November 2022 against China's strict zero-COVID policies. He was forced to take antipsychotic drugs and endured beatings and restraints. A plainclothes officer told Zhang, "If you don't support the Communist Party, you're sick." A hospital nurse echoed, "If you don't love the party and the country, this is your fate." Zhang insisted he wasn't ill, but the police replied, "It's not up to you to decide if you're sick. It's up to the government, the party." During his second abduction to the hospital, police told him, "Cooperate with treatment, support the party and the general secretary, and you'll be released immediately." Zhang said in the documentary, "You can't imagine they can just say, because you criticize the government or the Communist Party, you're mentally ill." In the CCP's world, supporting the party isn't a choice, it's mandatory. Anyone who opposes the CCP is labeled an outcast, and not supporting the party is deemed abnormal. One of the CCP's biggest lies is conflating China with the Communist Party, equating disloyalty to the party with disloyalty to the country. Through years of indoctrination, many Chinese can't distinguish between the party and the nation. When someone criticizes the CCP or exposes its evils, brainwashed citizens think they're attacking China. The CCP uses this love the party, love the country shield to act with impunity, silencing any dissent or questioning, which they equate with treason. But China has existed for millennia, while the CCP is just a foreign specter haunting the Chinese nation.
Why were you sent to a mental hospital?
No reason, just an excuse. The excuse was I offended a leader and he wanted to punish me. I helped farmers with lawsuits and offended the deputy director of the Banan District Court in Chongqing. I also offended my workplace leader with a whistleblowing letter. The deputy director and my leader teamed up to retaliate, locking me in a mental hospital with violent psychiatric patients. The head doctor punched and kicked me, pinned me to the ground, and forced me to take heavy antipsychotic drugs. They used 5 ropes to tie my hands, feet, and head, like being torn apart. They tortured me daily with this excruciating method.
Here's what a psychiatrist said.
何医生，这是你们精神科惯用的方式吧？
有人形容我们的手段就是三板斧。
Doctor, is this your psychiatric ward's standard method?
Our 3 basic tools. First, medication. Second, even if they don't agree, we call it protective restraint from a psychiatric perspective. Third, electroshock, running current through your whole body.
Twice after the shocks, it was awful, like passing out completely. The 5 horses tearing apart is a common CCP torture method. Liu Xiaolian, a 62-year-old Falun Gong practitioner from Chibi, Hubei, endured this in Chibi City's No. 1 detention center. The detention center chief, Deng Dingsheng, led 4 inmates and several police officers to torture her. 4 inmates held her limbs, while Deng grabbed her head, pulling like 5 horses. Her private parts were torn, her bones dislocated with loud cracks, and the officers laughed hysterically. Liu Xiaolian, simply for saying Falun Dafa is good, was illegally arrested at Tiananmen Square in December 2000, endured unimaginable torture, and died unjustly on October 26, 2008. Details of Liu Xiaolian's persecution can be accessed via the provided link. China's Constitution, Article 41, clearly states, citizens of the People's Republic of China have the right to criticize and make suggestions to any state organ or functionary. Citizens have the right to make complaints, charges, or exposures to relevant state organs against any state organ or functionary for violations of law or dereliction of duty. Zhou Rongyan and Liu Xiaolian, as lawful Chinese citizens, sought justice peacefully and rationally, but the results are clear. The drugs they were given didn't heal. They were meant to drive them insane. If you're delirious and act like a madman, who'd believe a crazy person with a huge grievance? Falun Gong practitioners persecuted in Suining County, Suzhou, Jiangsu, revealed During over 3 months in the mental hospital, we were tied to beds, forcibly injected and fed drugs. The so-called medical staff gave us massive doses of unknown injections, knocking us out cold. We don't know how long we were unconscious before slowly waking up, only then untying us. When the drugs kicked in, we were in agony, writhing on the floor, screaming, banging into walls. When we were lucid and asked the so-called medical staff, "What are you injecting and drugging healthy people?" they said, "It's orders from above. We have to work and obey. These drugs won't kill you, just make you suffer. If you say you'll stop practicing Falun Gong, we'll stop the drugs. But don't try escaping the hospital. If you do without gradual weaning, you'll go mad or die. Even if you escape, people will see you as crazy and send you back. The pain from the drug reactions is unimaginable, terrifying, with unthinkable consequences. The hospital isolated us female practitioners, locking us up long-term with male lunatics. When one of us meditated, the hospital director came over and snarled, 'Still practicing? We'll up your needle and drug doses, make you wish you were dead. See if you keep practicing.' They were arrested for petitioning. In late May 2019, Ma Yingjie, a Falun Gong practitioner from Bayan, Heilongjiang, was abducted to Heilongjiang's 3rd Psychiatric Hospital. Medical staff placed electric needles on her temples for shocks and forbade her from screaming in pain, forcing her to recite rules perfectly or face punishment. Why is the persecution of Falun Gong practitioners so brutal? In July 1999, former CCP leader Jiang Zemin launched a vicious campaign to suppress Falun Gong, vowing to eradicate it in 3 months. He issued secret orders to the 610 office, ruined their reputation, cut off their finances, destroyed them physically. If you beat them to death, it's nothing. Call it suicide. Don't investigate the body. Cremate on the spot. The 610 office, dubbed the CCP's Gestapo, was established on June 10, 1999, specifically to target Falun Gong. It spans government departments across provinces, cities, and municipalities controlling police, prosecutors, courts, judiciary, military, armed police, diplomacy, education, and propaganda. It's a tightly knit, independent system with absolute power over legal institutions, monitoring and controlling citizens pervasively, committing genocide against Falun Gong. Why the secret orders? On the surface, to avoid leaving evidence. In reality, to let perpetrators act without fear of consequences, unleashing savage torture and even murder. A 2004 report by the World Organization to investigate the persecution of Falun Gong found that over 100 mental hospitals across 15 Chinese provinces participated in persecuting Falun Gong practitioners, with 83% explicitly admitting to detaining them without mental illness symptoms solely to convert them. The investigated medical staff knew admitting Falun Gong practitioners was a political task. 21 years later, in 2025, this brutal persecution continues. Due to the CCP's tight internet censorship, little information leaks out. It's unimaginable how many Falun Gong practitioners have been tortured to death in mental hospitals or are still suffering. The CCP's sole goal in this relentless cruelty is to force them to abandon their faith. Why does the atheist CCP fear faith so much? Because true belief exposes the devil's tricks in an instant. Faith makes people fearless of death or material temptations, terrifying a regime that rules through violence and lies. We can't help but ask, if truth, kindness, and justice aren't tolerated by the CCP, what has it brought to the Chinese people? Where is it leading them? On March 10, 2007, billionaire leather tycoon Wang Min was sent to a mental hospital by his own parents, brother, and nephew, who wanted to seize his fortune. Thanks to his wife leading private security to storm the hospital, he was rescued after 3 days. From top CCP officials to ordinary citizens, rich or poor, no one escapes the CCP's claws. In its system, blood ties can't be trusted, wealth can't be protected, and justice doesn't exist. On April 22, 2022, Li Yixue, a young woman who accused an auxiliary police officer from Nanchang's Ding Highway Police Station of molestation, was locked up in Jiangxi Provincial Psychiatric Hospital for 56 days. Diagnosed with schizophrenia and personality disorders.
I reported an auxiliary cop and got thrown into a mental hospital. If I reported the police chief, would they chop my head off?
Auxiliary police in China, or public security auxiliary personnel, aren't formal officers, so the police can dodge responsibility by blaming hired outsiders. On December 22, 2024, shortly after her release, Li Yixui was forcibly sent back to the psychiatric hospital by Nanchang's Shihu District Police for posting rights defense videos online. Her whereabouts are unknown. Her personal account in videos were wiped from China's internet, and searching her name only brings up an official notice diagnosing her with severe mental disorders. Here's Li Yixui's account.
When I got to Jiangxi Provincial Psychiatric Hospital, I saw all sorts of bizarre cases of people sent in by police. I realized I wasn't the most wronged. There were people sent in for arguing with community workers over residence permits, clashing with police, breaking quarantine during COVID, or even being drunk. A heads up to anyone who can't withdraw money from a bank and argues with the teller, watch out. Let me break down the standard routine at Jiangxi Psychiatric Hospital. First, they beat you and ask if you submit. If not, they tie you to a bed and beat you again. Still not submitting, they inject you with sedatives. If you wake up and still resist, they drag you for electroshock. A doctor there has a saying, even if you're the king of heaven, it's useless. I've got 100 ways to break you. If you don't grovel, you'll never leave this hospital. People who seem well-behaved after discharge aren't cured, they're just beaten into submission. Everyone knows mental hospitals have no human rights. Once you're sent in, you're at their mercy like fish on a cutting board. The baseline is they treat you like lab rats, testing all kinds of psychiatric drugs on you, watching your reactions. If you refuse to take the drugs, they grind them into powder, mix them with water like milk, and force a tube through your nose into your stomach to pour it in. Some twisted nurses enjoy shoving the tube in, relishing your begging. For a method that treats effectively without leaving many marks, they use needle piercing. They tie your hands and feet to the bed and jab sensitive spots with things like pen refills or rusty discarded needles. It's small wounds, but the pain makes you wish you were dead, and no one can tell afterward. Those scenes in movies where mental hospitals turn into howling chaos at night, that's real. Night shift nurses are the worst. They'll jab you all night until you pass out. When I was in Jiangxi Provincial Psychiatric Hospital, at least half the people like me were sent in by police. Their families didn't consent, and no matter what they tried, they couldn't get them out. So at least half the people in Jiangxi Psychiatric Hospital are illegally detained. For the other half, the hospital demands families sign a waiver abandoning any legal recourse. The scale of illegal detentions there is staggering, beyond imagination. For every person the police send in, the hospital gets 10,000 yuan in monthly subsidies. Send in 100 people, that's 1 million yuan. If they stay a year, that's 12 million. Easy money, right? These doctors run personal online accounts, scamming people, charging high consultation fees, and luring as many people as possible for in-person visits. Some openly tell families, just trick them here. You know, we've got thugs at the hospital entrance to drag them into the ward. Once you're in, you live worse than a dog or pig. Doctors tell patients, your family doesn't treat you like a human, so why should we? If they cared, they wouldn't send you here. When patients explain they were sent in for arguing with family, the doctors say, whoever sent you in, send them back after you're out. We'll deal with them the same way. The law requires written warnings about the addictiveness of psychiatric drugs, but these doctors don't care. They crank up the doses to make your body dependent, ensuring you return monthly for more drugs, keeping their profits rolling. Some patients are even dragged back into the ward by thugs while returning for meds or follow-ups. Once you're in Jiangxi Psychiatric Hospital, you're theirs for life. The first thing they do is a thought education session, drilling into you that you're here because you're a scourge to society and your family, a universal outcast. Nurses with nothing better to do make patients crawl on the floor and bark like dogs for fun. They don't let you eat from a plate. They spill your food on the ground and make you pick it up. For patients who can't care for themselves, handling bodily waste is the orderly's job, but they force other patients to do it. Refuse, they smear the waste on your face. For private procedures like EKGs for female patients, female nurses don't do it. Male doctors jump at the chance. Female patients aren't allowed to wear bras, and those tied to beds don't even get underwear. I was tied up for 7 days and nights in Jiangxi Psychiatric Hospital. The doctor threatened me, saying, "Li Yixue, I can keep you tied until discharge." I said, "Go ahead. Tying me till discharge is nothing. Try tying me for life." After the inhuman torment and abuse, many, including me, start thinking, "Are you lock me in here, living worse than a dog or pig every day? Better to die." Some are driven to bash their heads against walls, but if you do, they wrap you up like a mummy on the bed, unable to move, and they never untie you. Some swallow foreign objects and are sent for emergency treatment, but once out of danger, they're sent right back from the ICU to the psychiatric ward. Others try hunger strikes. After a day without eating, they blend rice into a paste and force feed it through a tube in your nose. You want to eat with your mouth again. Sorry, no chance. Every meal is force fed through the tube. Why is everyone sent to Jiangxi Psychiatric Hospital diagnosed as mentally ill? Low mood, depression, high energy, mania, neither? Dementia. There's always a label for you. Their logic is, if you're fine, why did they send you and not someone else? You should slap them and say, "Why didn't I slap anyone else but you?" My story has over 1 billion views online. If even I can't win, what hope is there for all the victims of forced psychiatric detention? That's why I haven't given up.
Force feeding through tubes and saline injections are also common CCP torture methods against Falun Gong practitioners, according to a December 18, 2005 Minghui.org report. 8 Falun Gong practitioners illegally held in Liaoning Women's Prison were stripped naked and thrown into male cells to be raped by death row inmates. Another practitioner, Gu Changqin, went on a hunger strike, and her vocal cords and stomach were damaged by force feeding, leaving her unable to speak or eat. Such persecution isn't isolated. Lei Xiuxiang from Jilin City, Jilin said, "For practicing Falun Dafa, I was illegally sent to labor camps 3 times. Once, I was tied to a dead man's bed and forced to write a guarantee letter. The team leader was Zhu Dan, and the officer was Zhang Xiaohui. The dead man's bed is a CCP torture method for Falun Gong practitioners. They're bound to a hard bed, hands cuffed to the headboard, legs tied with thin nylon ropes, then tightly bound from head to toe for days without release, even for bodily functions. The ropes are so tight that breathing becomes difficult, and some lose consciousness. The guarantee letter demands they deny the benefits of Falun Gong, confess and repent to the CCP, thank the party for brainwashing, and vow to stop practicing and petitioning for Falun Gong." A Beijing Miyun district taxi driver received a card from the Miyun Public Security Bureau openly stating that reporting Falun Gong practitioners earns 10,000 to 500,000 yuan, while reporting fugitive criminals only earns 500 to 1,000 yuan. Are Falun Gong practitioners who follow truthfulness, compassion, tolerance, and benefit society more dangerous than murderers and arsonists? Organ harvesting from Falun Gong practitioners is even more lucrative. On January 11, 2025 in Nanchang, Jiangxi, Li Yixue's father and justice advocates tracked her to the Weimei Hotel, where she was being held. Her father said,
"我现在的身份，我只是血缘上的父亲，不是监护人。"
"I'm just her father by blood, not her legal guardian, and I never consented to this twice."
The government notice is clear.
"I'm telling you, you're spreading lies. The notice doesn't say I consented. If you claim I did, you're legally liable for defamation."
Don't point at me.
Li Yixu shouted,
The online notice is fake. They drove me crazy. She cried, "Dad, Dad."
During the live stream, plainclothes police kept blocking the camera.
You're fine pointing at me? You're disrupting the hotel owner's business. Get out.
He's telling us to leave, girl.
You can't take her away. Who gave you the right?
Ironically, that morning, Nanchang police issued a third notice claiming Li Yixue has lived alone and jobless for years. After her mother's death, her personality changed, often fighting with family, becoming reclusive and extreme. From 2019 to 2024, police handled 34 incidents involving Li Yixue, including threats of suicide, defamation, emotional disputes, neighbor conflicts like leaking roofs, throwing objects from heights, noise disturbances, blocking neighbors' locks, and splashing sewage. 4 neighbors moved away. She threatened suicide 4 times. Her claim of police molestation and attempted rape was false, defaming an officer. She confessed at the police station and requested a psychiatric evaluation. During her time at home, the community provided care, hiring aides, and supplying clothes, snacks, and essentials. On December 21, 2024, a neighbor reported Li Yixue hiding a long-handled sickle and threatening others, leading to a police call. Beijing Anding Hospital diagnosed her with obsessive-compulsive disorder, schizophrenia, and personality disorders. The police confirmed her defamation case and she'll face legal consequences. On December 22, 2024, Nanchang's Nanpu Sub-District Office, with police, fire rescue, community, health, women's federation, and civil welfare staff, sent her to Jiangxi Provincial Rongjun Veterans Hospital for treatment. Her father visited 6 times. On January 4, 2025, experts assessed her with obsessive-compulsive disorder, specific phobia, personality disorders, and a level 3 danger rating. On January 10th, her father took her home. Li Yixu's response:
They beat me on my bed, then dragged me to the mental hospital. The defendant broke into the plaintiff's home.
She was molested by police, yet branded a defamatory criminal and mental patient. Kidnapping a girl to a mental hospital with a massive operation. Was it to control her or to prevent public outrage? The CCP's skill at smearing and twisting facts is unmatched, exposing its shameless face. Ms. Qian, a justice advocate unaware of the situation, was thrilled thinking Li Yixue was freed and visited her home while pregnant. She was blocked by people claiming to be Nanchang community workers.
No disturbance here. I'm visiting my friend. Why are you blocking the entrance? Did you turn Li Yixue into a mental case? You don't know, so why block the hallway? You were here yesterday too. Don't touch my phone. Look at all these people blocking, filming my face, but I can't film them.
You don't live here.
I don't, but I can visit friends.
Your friends don't live here either. You're not local.
Then, despite her pregnancy, police beat Ms. Chen, and she was taken away by ambulance.
A bunch of guys surrounded me and started yelling at me. Wouldn't let me stop them filming my face. I knocked their phone away, said I'd pay for it, but they can't restrict my freedom. He grabbed my hair, my bag, and kicked my leg hard. Then he fell, pretending I pushed him. I pulled back because he was yanking my bag and hair, and his kick hurt like hell. I don't know if my baby's okay.
Ms. Chen's leg needed a splint after the beating.
Li Xue. Li Xue.
Other justice advocates went to Li Yixue's home, shouting her name and knocking, but got no response. On January 13, 2025, bloggers went to Nanchang, spotting many police cars near the Waimei Hotel, where Li Yixue was held.
All police cars, waiting for us, with people inside.
On the way, police cars stopped them, checking IDs. Those bloggers later went missing. Rumors say they were administratively detained by Nanchang police on January 14th, but no record exists on the police website. Justice advocates also called authorities to rescue Li Yixue on January 25th, 2025.
Hello? I'm reporting Nanchang police for breaking the law. Netizens came to check on Li Yixue, and Zihu District Police's plainclothes officers, wearing masks plus hired thugs, dozens of them, guarded her area, banned phone filming, seized phones, and blocked entrances. What are they hiding?
Who are you to her? What's it to you?
I'm reporting Nanchang police for breaking the law, putting power above justice.
What's that got to do with you? What did you do with her?
What's your badge number?
The call was cut off. Netizens flooded Nanchang Police's Douyin video comments supporting Li Yixue. The police disabled comments, and the video was later removed.
现在是初四的晚上，在这里我说2
A
点。
recent video and voice clip of Li Yixue surfaced.
It's the evening of the 4th day of the Lunar New Year, February 1st, 2025. 2 things. First, those who came for me I know most wanted to help. If they say I didn't want to meet, that's not my choice. They didn't allow it. Second, unless you see me in person, posting new content and expressing my views, I'm not fully free or safe.
很久没有给大家录视频了，然后有很多人说李。
It's been a while since I made a video. Many say, is Li Yixue dead? Plenty want me dead. This video proves I'm alive, but I'm in immense pain. The trauma from Jiangxi Psychiatric Hospital is devastating, a wound I'll never recover from. I made many videos exposing their crimes. Some say I don't look like a victim, but not showing my pain publicly doesn't mean I don't feel it. I hate people who play the victim online for sympathy, but when my pain becomes unbearable, I'll do something I've always wanted but never dared. I don't seek a grand life, just a clear conscience if that day comes. I hope someone remembers a girl who fought for China's victims of forced psychiatric detention.
Now only a few Douyin videos remain, all CCP official notices claiming Li Yixue has mental illness and isn't missing. Her account is gone from search results. In 2012, China passed the People's Republic of China mental health law, clearly stating that treating people without mental illness is illegal. The ignorant and inhumane CCP executioners don't know that after the Cultural Revolution, in July 1977, to quell public anger, shift blame, and cover crimes, Beijing's Public Security Bureau replaced its leadership. Per a notice to transfer military cadres back to their units, 793 military cadres with blood on their hands from the Cultural Revolution were removed from Beijing's Public Security Bureau. Sent back to their units, they faced internal interrogations and secret executions in remote Yunnan, with families told they died in the line of duty. The Cultural Revolution, launched by Mao, killed at least 7.73 million people per county records and destroyed authentic Chinese culture. In China, the Communist Party towers above all. The party comes first, the nation second. Laws, faith, human rights, and freedom are just window dressing for the outside world. The party's followers think they're untouchable, backed by a mighty force, unaware that the party teeters on the edge of collapse. The day of reckoning is coming closer.